Next, let's talk about ETL and ELT. These are two approaches to data integration for your environment. First, let's start by discussing the data integration challenge. So usually with the cloud environment, our goal is to integrate data from multiple sources into a centralized system, right? Such as a data warehouse or a data lake. This centralization is crucial for businesses that rely on data for reporting and analysis and thereby making business decisions. However, the challenge is that data comes from various sources, databases, APIs, applications, and often exists in different formats. So to make this data useful, it needs to be changed in some way such that we can actually extract value from it, right? So those steps are basically extraction, transformation, and loading. If we want to kind of boil it down more simply. The two common approaches to solve this challenge are either extracting, transforming, and then loading the data, or extracting, loading, and then transforming the data. So the first is called ETL, the second is called ELT. Both of these methods aim to centralize data, but the key difference lies in when the data is transformed, before or after loading it into the system. So both ETL and ELT, they help businesses get their data ready for analysis, but they take slightly different approaches. And these are terms you should know about and also just approaches you should be familiar with in data engineering and for the exam. Let's walk through ETL first, extract, transform, and load. First is extract. This is where the data is collected from various sources. That's databases, applications, files. The goal here is to pull together all relevant data from different systems. The second is transform. After the extraction, the data is cleaned, formatted, and transformed according to business needs. And so this is where we apply business rules, aggregations, we format the data, we basically prepare it for whatever comes next, usually some kind of analysis or reporting. Third, we load the data. So then once transformed, the data is loaded into the target system, which could be a data warehouse or another data storage system. So it's ready for analysis, reporting, or some other use case. ETL is a more traditional approach to data integration than ELT, but it is still widely used, particularly in on-prem environments or when data needs to be heavily modified before loading into the target system. But it is becoming increasingly common to use ELT instead of ETL. And that's what we're going to talk about next, ELT. So ELT stands for extract, then load, then transform. So step one is extract. We start by collecting data from various sources. Again, databases, applications, files, APIs. This is where we gather raw data that needs to be processed. Load is the second step. Unlike ETL and ELT, we load the raw data directly into the target system, typically a data lake or data warehouse. This allows the data to be ingested quickly without waiting for transformations to be applied first. And then we transform the data. So the transformation happens after the data is loaded. And in this step, we often take advantage of the cloud's scalability to perform transformations on demand, which adds flexibility and efficiency. So ELT is a little bit more enabled by cloud. ELT is a bit more common in big data environments and cloud-based systems, as I just said. It allows for faster data ingestion because transformations can be delayed until after the data is loaded. The cheap cost of storage and ease of movement in the cloud encourages keeping multiple copies of the data, serving different business needs. So this approach allows organizations to store multiple copies of the same raw data in different formats or for different purposes without the significant overhead costs that were once a barrier in traditional on-prem systems. For example, the same data set can be loaded into a data warehouse for analytics, a data lake for long-term storage, or transformed differently depending on the needs of various departments like marketing or sales or finance. The flexibility of the cloud means that the data can be accessed, it can be moved, it can be transformed on demand. This allows businesses to meet evolving needs without significant extra cost. So that's one reason why we're kind of moving this direction of using ELT more than ETL. But ETL is still valid and widely used in many cases. That's a bit about ELT and ETL. You may see a business scenario on the exam mentioning ELT or ETL, and so you should know what they mean. Now you do. All right, on to the next section.